Welcome back to the Geelong Cricket Show here on Channel 31 on this bright and happy Saturday morning. Let's hope the weather's fine for this weekend of semi-finals in local cricket. Lords of Cricket, yes, we've got a winner. From our last question we asked correctly, the answer to the question was that Queenscliff was the club in the Bellarine Peninsula Cricket Association that we wanted the answer to, and the young man from the dizzy heights of Heritage Hill in Newtown, young master Ben Thomas. Good morning, Ben. Good morning to your lovely, lovely mother, Fiona. And congratulations, Ben, a game of Lords of Cricket coming your way. And this week, we'll give away another one. If you can answer the question, who are the two Geelong Cricket Club first 11 Premier players who have announced their retirements as at last weekend? You heard it in the first segment of the show. You send your email to guestmedia@bigpond.com and you will, if you get the right answer, receive a Lords of Cricket game. Great game, because proportion of the sale proceeds from the game will be provided, as always, to the Steve Waugh Foundation. Bellarine Peninsula Cricket Association, it is grand final weekend. And in the A grade last weekend, Queenscliff defeated Drysdale. Yes, Queenscliff. The ball is getting harder each time I stick it in my gob. And Colindina defeated Anglesea. So, down at Drysdale this weekend, Queenscliff take on Colindina. Tim Michell, your unbiased, non-sitting on the fence selections.
Well, Graham, I think it's a fitting finish to the BPCA season. The top two sides from the home and away season going at it down at Drysdale. One of the interesting talking points out of this game is that traditionally those two sides do play on the all-weather decks. That's a little bit rude for this time in the morning. Decks, I should say, that offer a little bit more bounce than all the others. But we'll see them travel down it to Drysdale. So their batsmen maybe a little bit of adjusting to the flatter pitch that will be down there at Drysdale. I'm struggling a little bit here on this Saturday morning, but we'll wait and see how those batsmen do go. One of the really positive things for Queenscliff last weekend was Michael Farrell getting back in the runs, and he's a guy that has struggled a little bit this season, getting 71 not out. He was dropped early on, and that's sometimes a break that a good batsman like Michael and an aggressive batsman too normally does need. If I had to go one way, and because we don't know what the weather's going to do at the moment, I think Queenscliff, they've really have dominated the second half of the season, so I'd be tipping the Cooters to get up, but would not surprise me at all if Colindina's bowlers do take control, and that's probably the big key for them. If Michael Fabris and Luke Weitenheimer can get a few early wickets and remove those talented Queenscliff openers as we saw last week, then they give the Cobras every chance of claiming their first title in the BPCA, which maybe does heap a little bit of pressure on them as well, that they are playing for a real bit of history.
Darren, Tim's touched on it, but to broaden the importance of the pacemen, Weitenheimer and Fabris, we talked about it last week, but as each final gets more pressure put on it, it becomes so much more important to get those early wickets, and Weitenheimer and Fabris could be a very, very key to the outcome of this grand final.
Yeah, definitely, Rollo. Both teams have got some quality opening bowlers with the Queenscliff duo of Ash McDonald and Tony Hannafin. Those two guys last week, destroyed Drysdale, I think, with 9 wickets between them. So, as you said, you got two strong bowling opening attacks here. So, I think it's going to go to the team that can actually make the most breakthroughs at the start of the innings. And going on where I suppose Queenscliff have been all season, I'd see them probably pushing for victory in this one.
The one thing with this game, Graham, too, in terms of team selection, is that Colindina are prepared to stick with the young guys that have helped them get there. Andy Higgins is a guy who's, I believe, the captain of the under-17 Colindina side. He's been stepping up and batting either 3 or opening the batting in their A grade for the second half of the season, so I hope he stays a part of that lineup. Also, Nathan Walter, a guy that they promoted from their C grade after he made a century, and they've been prepared to back him in throughout the second half of the season. So really hoping to see, when I do head down to Drysdale a little bit later today, those two boys are playing for Colindina, and obviously they'll be hoping to be part of what would be some real history for the club if they can claim their first premiership in the BPCA in their 20th year in existence.
All the very best to both teams in the A grade of the BPCA. Queenscliff versus Colindina at the Drysdale Duke Street Reserve down there in Drysdale. Turning our attention to the B grade. Ocean Grove take on Queenscliff, this time at Bowen Heads. No one knows the ground better than Tim Michell.
Yeah, it's in a fantastic nick at the moment, the ground. But one thing that I cannot believe, I don't know how they've swung it, but Ocean Grove have almost half their A-grade side from the second half of the season that really got the ball rolling and got them close, if they could have claimed a couple of unlikely outrights in the second half of the season, to sneaking a spot in the A-grade finals. You've got Mark Richardson opening the batting there, Patrick Kuipers, who made a mountain of runs in the second half of the season as well, also opening the batting for Ocean Grove and in good touch after last weekend. Michael Kennedy also back in that side. He's an all-rounder that's I think made 50 or 60 against us when we played them in the second half of the season as well. So there's a lot of talent in that Ocean Grove side. I'm not sure how they've swung it, but they'll end up as favourites going into this game. Robbie Ryan's probably one of the big keys for Queenscliff, grabbing 6 wickets last weekend, and if he can continue that bowling form that saw him push up into the A-grade a couple of times in the second half of the year as well, then Queenscliff will give it a shake, but really you can't go past Ocean Grove, I don't think, to claim another B-grade flag in a grade where traditionally they have been one of the strongest sides for the last probably 4 or 5 years.
Darren, do you share the same view for the Grubbers?
It's probably the home crowd advantage in regards to Queenscliff already having a team in the A-grade final. So if the Grubbers get on a roll, you know, that crowd's going to get right behind them. So, you know, I think momentum's a big thing. If Ocean Grove can, get a good start with bat or ball, then I think the crowd will bring them home.
In the C-grade grand final, it's a traditional battle of the bridge. Bowen Heads versus Ocean Grove down at Port Arlington. Tim Michell.
Once again, it's the top two sides going at it here. Bowen Heads went very close to getting knocked out last week by Colinina, Lockie Flynn, and his brother Callum, who bats about number 10, I think it was last weekend, dragged them over the line. So a good story to come out of that one for Bowen Heads, but they'll need to be at the top of the game against an Ocean Grove side bristling with talent again. Dean Gills is a guy that has plenty of A-grade experience, but is now playing C-grade for Ocean Grove. So they've dropped a few really talented guys down throughout their batting, and obviously Dean's getting a little bit on in age, so probably just dropping back as well through the grades for that reason. But you're going to see some really talented, probably older cricketers in this, but also a few good younger players as well. Watch for Miles, Ben and Maguire when we spoke to Bowen Heads batsman Jason Mallett a little bit earlier in the year. He's talking about him pushing up into the A-grade, but he's playing in the C-grade finals, and if he can make some early inroads along with the guy Matt McLeod that normally just gets his 1 or 2 wickets early on, then Bowen Heads might take control of that one down at Port Arlington.
Your views, Darren?
Yeah, I'd be probably a similar sort of point of view. Like Gills, I know he's played a lot of A-grade cricket there, so I'm sure, you know, guys with that experience will just lead from the front in that sort of game. And
the final D-grade grand final, Queenscliff will take on Newcombe down at Ocean Grove, and we wish both sides all the very best in that particular clash. Tim, before we leave the Bellarine, an important announcement already for next season.
Yeah, Bowen Heads have already announced, just to end any speculation, that Jason Mallett will be taking over as Chris Welsford, from Chris Welsford as captain coach for next season. So a good announcement there for Bowen Heads to secure him as well, with reportedly a few GCA clubs pretty keen on securing Jason's services for next year. So Bowen Heads very happy to trumpet that through the week, and it certainly is a big announcement in terms of the recruiting, and it starts off that recruiting summer really on the Bellarine.
We'll go to a break on the Geelong Cricket Show, back in looking at the GCA, and don't forget our Glenn Duck of the Week Award coming up after this.